It was at this moment he knew. He fucked up.
Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, Tank12, how you want to call me, I don't really care. And welcome back to World of Tanks. Now we have finally made it to the big boy. This is the tier 10. This is where everything is going to come together. This is the EBR 105. And this is a very badass looking tank. Look at this. The gun is almost as long as the tank. It's like EBR 105. Now I think the French have something very similar to this, not with the chassis, but at least with the turret in usage. I know that the Italians with the Centauro have a very similar kind of tank, which is also a tank destroyer with a 105 equipped. Maybe we'll see them in this game, who knows. It's very interesting, and I've played it a couple of times, and this is okay, excuse me. This is probably the one tank that I've enjoyed the most. And I think that is a good, okay, let me rephrase that. I think from all of the light-wheeled tanks, I've enjoyed this one the most because I had the opportunity and I was able to play every single one of them and get to learn the new mechanics with every single tank. Now, if we take a look at the AMD 178B, it doesn't have any new characteristics or new mechanics. It just has wheels. It's very fast, and you have to get used to playing a vehicle with wheels. You cannot turn in position. You have to turn with actually some speed, and it just, I don't know, it's the very first iteration, so it doesn't have to be the best. It's still kind of very annoying to play, in my opinion, but it's the very first taste, and the very first taste isn't too bad, but it isn't too amazing either. Moving on, you get to the EBR Hotchkiss, which is faster, has more wheels, and you get the very first sense of, wow, what this kind of line is capable of doing. Then you get to the Lynx 6x6 with the new mechanic, and it's super cool to test out new things, but you kind of get all over the place with the vehicle. Then you get to the EBR 90 where these mechanics are refined, where the vehicle actually now has very nice characteristics and you can really trim it to something very decent. And then you get to the EBR 105, and the EBR 105 makes everything come together in a very nice package. So I'd say without further ado, let's take a look at its statistics or characteristics, and then we'll move on to some gameplay. Firepower is the very first thing we'll look at. And the very cool thing about this vehicle is it has a 105mm gun. And that's almost where it ends immediately. It's a 105mm gun with an average damage of 390, which is super cool. That's more damage than the 105mm gun on the German tier 10 light tank, which only has 320 alpha damage, which I don't understand at all. 190 average penetration, which is only 5mm increase over the tier 9 tank, but you do have heat shells, which are, I don't know, I'm kind of interested what kind of velocity these heat shells have. I've never fired heat with these vehicles because most of the time you don't need the heat when you're driving around them, but maybe when you're like hidden and you're not running around, you're shooting them from some distance, maybe you'll need the heat shells, but who knows. I have some equipped in this vehicle, maybe we'll test it out. The rate of fire now takes a horrible dip, 5.4 rounds per minute. That is pretty damn bad. 11 seconds reload time on a light tank. It does have a huge gun, but at the same time, that is going to mean your DPM is terrible. 2118, that is not a big step up from the Panhard EBR, but you can see Wargaming want you to play this vehicle as an active scout and not as a very aggressive scout that is able to dish out a lot of damage while running around your pace, you know, while you have absolutely a very hard time shooting him. He's just running circles around you and he's just dealing damage, but doesn't look like it's going to be able to do that just as easily. So the turn speed of the turret, 75 degrees per second. It gets upgraded a little bit, and the gun depression is a little bit better than on the previous model. 7 degrees of gun depression and 15 degrees of gun elevation. Now the aim time is very interesting, 1.05 and 0.33 dispersion on 100 meters. Now that is coupled with a very good crew and with good equipment. And as always, keep in mind, all these things are probably or maybe still subject to change, although it's already the third iteration of the test server. Can we just talk about how cool this tank looks with the turret on top? I think this turret just looks so, it looks so modern, you know? It looks so freaking cool. It has so many gadgets on it, like the lights, the machine gun right there. I'm not even sure, I'm not even sure what that is supposed to be. Although I mean, in my military service, I was running around in vehicles and tanks similar to this. We had like 40 millimeter. What was it? It's an anti personnel fighting vehicle. It's an APC. It's really cool, but nothing like this. But we had like night, what was it? Night vision and all that kind of stuff. Pretty cool. Now, 1,300 hit points are going to protect you from a lot. That is a one-shot for a FV. That is also a one-shot for a Jagdpanzer E100. So, yeah, don't get hit with anything when you're driving this tank. It has no armor, basically, so we're not even going to take a look at those statistics. That is not important. That is not why you're playing this tank. This is the reason why we're playing this vehicle. The top speed. 70 kilometers while just being in the normal mode, in the cruise mode, rapid mode, that is 95 kilometers per hour. 95. Keep that in mind, 95. That's almost 100 kilometers per hour playing this game. Driving past someone with 100 kilometers per hour almost is amazing. Now, the speed going backwards, on the other hand, the reverse speed is not as impressive. 50 kilometers going backwards and 70 kilometers, which is still very high, going backwards with rapid mode. But it's not the 95 or the 70 on the standard cruise mode. That mainly has to do with the fact that it doesn't have a backwards kind of, what do you call, backwards seat. It's not designed as similarly as the Panhard EBR 90. I think that has mainly to do with the gun and the turret. The turret is just so large, it takes up such a large portion of the space in this vehicle, so that they basically had to make it like any other vehicle with just a front-facing, you know, part of the vehicle and a back-facing part, which isn't designed to be like, you know, running backwards as quickly. That's pretty cool right here. This is where you screw on the antenna for your vehicle, just like right over here. That's actually very similar to the ones we use in our military, but that's enough about that. So you can see top speed is what this vehicle is all about. The maximum wheel turning angle is 33 degrees, just as the previous iteration, the Panhard EBR 90. So nothing too special, but still the speed is where it's at. So 95 and 70 kilometers per hour, that's pretty damn amazing. Concealment, on the other hand, it's very similar to the EBR. It's a little bit better, but with this kind of concealment, you can stay hidden for quite a while. 44.73% concealment bonus. That is amazing. Like on the move and stationary, that's pretty damn crazy. And spotting this time around, 445 meters view range. Now, finally, you get a little bit of better view range. 445 meters. Now, that's nothing compared to my tier 10 scouts that I have, you know, the tracked versions. Where I get up to like 500 meters view range, but still 445 meters. Now you're on the average kind of a tier 10 medium tank that is not running any equipment. 445 meters view range, it's decent. With the concealment coupled together, you're actually going to be able to spot quite a few things while staying hidden. That is very, very cool indeed. So I'd say without further ado, let's jump into a battle, test out this 105, and see how well this tank does fare in the test server. So we have finally arrived at the last French wheeled light vehicle. This is the last preview, and I've decided to pick this match to represent what it's capable of. And I thought a complete tier 10 match on the brand new Grand Battle, what is it? It's Grand Battle map Hinterland. We're going to be seeing what this tank can do best and where its limitations are set at. Actually, I do like the intro music of this map. It looks really cool. The flames, the burned ground. This is a real cool looking map, and if you World of Tanks veterans out there see some kind of similarity with this map, with a very old kind of World of Tanks map that has been gone for years now, it's because it is very similar. There used to be one map, I forgot its name, where there was an island in the middle, and it was like around it there was a lot of it was basically a swamp. There was an island in the middle, and you were fighting on both sides parallel to the island, and then people were fighting over the island. This map is very similar to it, but it's in grand battles, and it's super cool. So, moving on, we're going to be talking about EBR 105, and we're going to be talking about what makes this tank special and why it is very, very interesting in the next meta, in the next update. So what we can see right here is I'm trying to be an active scout, and I do light up quite a bunch of vehicles. I think we almost lit up more than half of the enemy team, and this is what this vehicle does do very, very well. Being an active scout, getting into position very early on. What you can see right here is with the amazing speed of 95 kilometers per hour, we are able to dodge these shells without a problem. Very important is that you know the right usage of the cruise and rapid mode, and you can see I'm basically running around constantly here with the rapid mode. We have spotted quite a few targets for our team, but unfortunately, since they're sitting behind us, we do not get a lot of spotting damage at the moment, and that is one of the things you have to keep in mind when you're playing this vehicle. The spotting damage is going to be probably your main source of damage that you'll, experience that you get, because your main gun, although it is quite reliable in penetrating these tanks from the side, does not have that kind of rate of fire that other light tanks have. Your rate of fire with the current equipment I have on is about 11 seconds per shot. That's maybe 5.5 rounds per minute, and that is not the best DPM that you're going to get out of this. But that's not the thing you'll have to keep in mind. What you saw right there is that this vehicle, although it is fast, 95 kilometers per hour, it certainly is not invincible. Such a setup like right here, where we're constantly spotting the enemy team over there, over the ridgeline, it shows you that this vehicle can have a very surprising engagement and basically overrun these guys and kind of scramble them out. But at the same time, this chaos effect does lose its efficiency and its power over time when they do notice that you're running around like a lunatic right here. So what I'm trying to do right here is to utilize the gun depression that I have on this vehicle, which is actually, I think it's 6 degrees. It's not the best gun depression, but at the same time, you can actually still press the ridgeline a little bit. I think it's 8 or 6 degrees. I'm not sure, but it still works, and we're still lighting up the enemy team. So this middle section right here is constantly lit for my team to shoot at, but it doesn't really matter because we're pushing through the middle without a problem. And you can see we're racking up some damage around the way, but we also are on very low HP. We only have 153 hit points remaining. Now the thing is, those hit points you'll have to manage yourself, right? Light tanks are very quickly down on low HP. That happens because you may play a very aggressive play, you might try to get into a position that maybe is already exposed, but light tanks do tend to lose hit points very, very quickly. Now unfortunately, that's something you'll have to get used to. On these lightly wheeled vehicles, it's going to be even worse. If you lose your hit points very, very quickly, well, it's not going to be working in your favor. You have to find the perfect balance of running around and maybe falling back into a more secure area instead of, running around the field. What I'm doing right here is maybe not the best idea to stay alive for a very long time. But it gives your team the kind of chaos and distraction that they might need to fall over and get over one of the main defensive lines of your enemy. What you could see right there, 2000 damage dealt, 2348 damage spotted, and we have allowed our team to annihilate the one middle flank, the central part, very, very long and from the very beginning. So I'd say this actually was a win. We're gonna move on to another match, and we're gonna see how the tank does fare in those closer knit city maps. This second game is on Woundburg, and I actually don't have to add a lot of things to this gameplay because it's nothing special, it's nothing spectacular, but it really is just to pinpoint and show how incredibly sensitive this tank is and how important it is to always be on your guard when you're playing this vehicle. One of the hardest things I noticed for myself when I was playing these kind of vehicles was to pay attention on driving around and at the same time being an effective active scout. Now, my active scout games weren't as effective as I would have enjoyed, as I would have liked. It had been quite difficult to get enough spotting and get close enough to them. Oh my god.